पाशतादेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमापदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामने गौतुसे नमः वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि प्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So, we welcome everyone for today morning discussion from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 8th chapter, titled as Dhruva Maharaja leaves home. Nad Muni has, after instructing Dhruva Maharaj is just a 5-year-old boy. The story happened in a place called as Bittur, right next to Kanpur. We could have considered adding that into our this year itinerary. Anyways, you're going to UP. But UP has too many places. I'm thinking of adding Naimisharanya also. But I don't know how do we adjust time. Kashi, Ayodhya, Prayagraj, Chitrakoot. Then you got Bittur, and then you got Naimisharanya. Anyways, many other places. I just Naimisharanya the point gets लोग कहेंगे अब वृंदावन भी आते हैं. How far is वृंदावन from Naimisharanya? नैमिषारण्य चले गए तो फिर हरिद्वार भी आते हैं. एक तरफ हरिद्वार, एक तरफ मथुरा मंदिर. Anyways, jokes apart. So here now Dhruva Maharaj from Bittur, that is Kanpur, have now walked down to Madhuvan, that is Vrindavan. You can Google it, Google map it, and figure out how many kilometers it is. And if it is, for example, 800 kilometers, now we are talking about Satyuga, where now if in case in Treta Yuga the height, everything was quite big, Satyuga would be further big. So distances were also equivalently big, not 800 kilometers only. Anyways, so after doing that, Nadmani now comes to meet the father, the king, Uttanapad. The discussion happened between both of them, and Nadmani now gives the information about the son to the grieving father, Uttanapad, who's cursing himself, who's regretting it. Now regret, I guess, is worthy to make a point about it. I was recently speaking about Mahabharata. I was making a point about Karna and Duryodhana in one program. I was saying Karna instigated Duryodhana to, instigate Yudhishthira to put Draupadi on bet. And it was Karna, after Draupadi was lost, it was Karna who told Duryodhana, hey, well, she's your maidservant now. You can do anything. Remember the insult she did to us in her Swayamvar? She didn't accept it. She rejected me and you lost. Now it's the time to take revenge. So please instruct Dushashan, one of your brothers, go bring her. And you know the rest of the story. What happened? She was dragged and she was brought to the assembly, and then Karna further instigated, let's disrobe her. This was all done by Karna. And who followed through? Duryodhana. Whoever instigated, but Duryodhana acted, so he is also culprit. Now the Mahabharata says the difference between Karna and Duryodhana is only difference, only good point. Karna at least regretted for it later on. He regretted. However, Duryodhana did not even regret. There are 3 stages you can see in that. One who makes a mistake does not have any regret, any repentance for it. For him, the mistake does not exist. Another category of person who at least realizes mistakes, but he regrets. But there is a third category of a good soul who regrets and who does not repeat. So problem with Duryodhana was this base character who did not even regret. For him, it was not even a mistake. Karna was a little better than him. Karna at least regretted. But he was not a good soul or great soul. Why? Because that regret did not brought about transformation. He did not change. Even when Krishna went and spoke to Karna, he still chose the side of Duryodhana because his heart was filled with revenge. So we see this subject matter come again, and I feel this is very important subject matter in today's society, in a bipolar, bipartisan society or multi-partisan society. We have become very weak-hearted. Anyone says anything to us, we immediately get into revenge mode. I quit. I give up. And then we develop that kind of a remorse or, kind of feelings, towards others. So we have many incidents in Srimad Bhagavatam where we come across the situations where somebody has made a mistake. And we interestingly come across cases of these three levels. Somebody made a mistake but did not realize also, like Ravana. Kidnapped Sita but did not even realize, thought that it was a mistake. Then I give an example of Karna. He made a mistake, he regretted for it. I would not say repented. Repented means transformation. He regretted for it, but he could not repent. And then the third category is repentance. You see in the case of Kashyapa and Diti, Diti in the third canto realized she made a mistake. She regretted, but she couldn't repent. And therefore, again, same thing happened in the sixth canto. Now, when she wanted to have a son who can kill Indra, like that. So, those kind of things. How a good soul or great soul acts, just like here, Uttanapad. He was a hand-picked husband. We can look at that way, a fault in him. However, an important thing is he realized his mistake, and now he's in the state of repentance. And therefore, he's going to hear everything from Narad Muni, and he's going to run to the forest when he gets the news that Dhruva is returning. So that's the transformation. So this is how the great souls, or how this is how we're supposed to act. Not only regret, but also repent. All right, let's move forward. Text number 16, Narad Muni consoled. Narada vacha, Mama sucha satanayam, Deva guptam vishampate, Tat prabhavam aviknaya, Pravante yad yasho jagat. I'm reading from text number 68 for all of you who are looking into your mobile. So you can share, those of you sitting next to each other, share with each other. Okay, share here, so the fellows can see with each other. Okay, so translation. The great sage Nada replied, my dear king, please do not be aggrieved about your son. He is well protected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although you have no actual information of his influence. His reputation already spread all over the world. So we spoke about it, protection, how sadhus are protected, or what protected in the jungle, like that. In a modern case, in a modern history, we have a classic example of Richard Slavin, or his name is Radhanath Swami Maharaj, how he wandered through in search of God on foot from Luxembourg, Europe, to India. All that treacherous, difficult journey, life was put at risk so many times, but he still continued on. And what to speak of living in the thick of the jungles in Himalayas. So yes, Krishna protects. And that is a subject matter of faith. We develop faith on that. Text number 69. Adao Narad Muni, being the spiritual master of Narad Muni, glorifies, being the spiritual master of Dhruva Maharaj, glorifies, Narad Muni glorifies Dhruva Maharaj, precisely. Sudushkaram karma kritva lokapalerapi prabhu aishyati yachirto rajan yasho vipul yamastava. My dear king, your son is very competent. He will perform activities which would be impossible even for great kings and sages. Narad Muni is saying impossible. Very soon he will complete his task, come back home. You should know that he will also spread your reputation all over the world. Hare Krishna. So he is going to perform some impossible feats. So ahead we'll see the description of Dhruva Maharaj's severe austerities. And Narada says he will soon come back and he will spread your glories. Very beautiful purport. In the purport, Prabhupada writes, gives the meaning to the word which we very commonly chant. The word Prabhupada. Anyone knows the meaning of Prabhupada? What is Prabhupada? It has multiple meanings. Chai Prabhupada, Chai Prabhupada. One who has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. Prabhupada. Okay, Pad means feet. Okay, what else?
Through which one can reach out to the lotus feet of the Lord.
Hi.
Means by taking the shelter of Guru means you can reach out to the lotus feet of the Lord.
Okay. Okay. By taking the shelter of Prabhupada means the one by taking whose shelter we can get shelter of the Lord. Anything else to Prabhupada?
Who is representing the Lord?
Who's representing?
Who is sitting on the light?
Who's sitting on the feet of the Lord and now representing the Lord. Something closer. Okay, good try. Prabhupada also means on whose feet everyone else sits. Prabhu, Master, Pada, feet. Let's take a look at it. Here in this verse, Narmani has described Dhruva Maharaj as Prabhu. This word is applicable to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Oh yeah, interesting. I went for this session in a new college, MBA college. So my host was introducing me. She said, we call Prabhu, Madan Sundar Prabhu. Why we call Prabhu? So she said, because the Lord is addressed, only Lord is Prabhu. And one who has taken shelter of the Lord also becomes Prabhu. So let's welcome His Grace Madan Sundar Prabhu. मैं भी देख रहा था यार ये बड़ा interesting introduction है. Yeah, so she was quoting this particular puppet. This word is applicable to the Supreme Personality Godhead. Sometimes the spiritual master is addressed as Prabhupada. Prabhu means the Supreme Personality Godhead. Pada means post. Pad means Paddhati, post. According to Vaishnava philosophy, the spiritual master occupies the post of the Supreme Personality Godhead. In other words, he is a bona fide representative. The Maharaj is described here as Prabhu because he is an acharya of the Vaishnava school. Another meaning of Prabhu is master of the senses, just like the word Swami. Other significant is Sudushkaram, very difficult to perform. That's the mean. So Prabhupada, who is an acharya. Prabhu also means master of the senses. Prabhu also means the Supreme Personality Godhead. Text number 17. So after hearing this, what did King say? How did King reacted? Iti devashina proktam vishrutya jagati patihi raja lakshmim anadratya putram evan vachintayat. Maitreya Muni said, the king of Tanapada, after being advised by Narad Muni, practically gave up all duties in relation with his kingdom, which was very vast and wide, opulent with the goddess Madan. He simply began to think of his son Dhruva like this. Text number 71. Now Maitreya Muni will begin to speak about what impossible task actually Dhruva did. 5-year-old boy. So those of you, particularly of those our soul century candidates, कौन कौन है यहाँ पे सोच रहे हाथ खड़ा करो. अगर तुम्हें लगता है सुबह उठना कितनी बड़ी तपस्या है, अगर तुम्हें लगता है भगवान का नाम जप करना कितनी तपस्या है, तो आपको अभी सुन के आगे का वर्णन सुन के बड़ी शर्म आने वाली है. क्योंकि 5 साल का लड़का बहुत ही तीव्र तपस्या करने वाला है. शायद हम सबको विनम्र बना दे ये सुनकर. What tapasya was did. Humble as well as we should become determined to practice our allotted tapasya. Translation. Elsewhere, Dhruva Maharaj, having arrived at Madhuban, took his bath in the river Yamuna, observed fasting in the night with great care and attention. After that, as advised by the great sage Narada, he engaged himself in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, important point Prabhupada mentioned in the purport is Dhruva Maharaj acted according to the instruction of spiritual master. Whatever the way Narad Muni instructed, exactly Dhruva Maharaj followed it. And then Prabhupada says, what is the duty of a disciple? Now, your spiritual masters have given you the way, have given you the direction, have shown you the way. Now you have to walk the path and not become restless. When will I get Krishna Prema? What is the duty? Duty is to follow. Karmanivadikaraste Mahafalishu Kadachan. I can tell you it's very easy to quote. Mahafalishu Kadachan. all of you working fellas, you know, Mahafaleshu Kadachan, where does that balance goes? And when it goes, then it never comes out. It goes in what? Savings account, we call it? Deposit accounts. Some investment here and there, you know, so it's not so easy. Similarly, even in the path of spirituality, as sadhaka, now fal, the point is we are attached to results. You know, I just gave an example of those who are working, but those who are into spiritual life, now they are attached. When will I get success? When will I get a success? So duty of a disciple is, Prabhupada says, don't become anxious about result. Prabhupada writes in the purport, 5th last line, there need be no anxiety over attaining perfection, because when one follows the instructions given by the spiritual master, is sure to attain perfection. Our only concern should be how to execute the art of the spiritual master. That's the only job profile that we have. And all problem arises when we don't know what is my dharma, which means when I don't know my job profile. What is job profile of a sadhaka, particularly a Vaidhi sadhana bhakta, is follow the instructions. Don't too much worry about results. Our only concern should be how to execute. A spiritual master is expert in giving special instructions to each of his disciples. And the disciple executes the art of the spiritual master. That is the way of his perfection. Maybe I can make this point here. I hope will be okay. In this context, I personally derive great inspiration from His Grace Gauranga Prabhu. So I have a 9:30 session with him. We're having some forum together. And we are only 3 or 4 of us in that forum. And it's amazing because Maharaj have told him, he's taking his time out and he's doing literally 1-to-1 session. And if you look at his life overall, it's all about what has been told to do it. And if I look at it from my point of view, I don't think so he's really needed. You know, he can very well delegate. But he himself will do it, he himself will organize it. And yesterday we had a session. So he just came back from Kumbh Mela, so he was telling, you know, his health was bad. He's got a cold and all that. And pretty cold, you know, the Tamil Mone, all of them have come, must be very cold. And you know, cooking whole day, hot, then cold and whatnot, you know, you can fall sick and all that. And he was telling me 9 crore people were there. He said, and there were 2 main occasions back to back, 29th and Makar Sankranti, right? 3rd, back to back, which means that particular week must be very, very packed. So he said there were 9 crore people and all that. So imagine so many people around. Falling sick is so easy like that. And he was still there. And I was just thinking, you know, of course I'm speaking too much here, I should not, but I'm just making a point in this context. This is what I derive the great inspiration from him. 100% what Guru says done. There's no question of like or dislike. Because Maharaj told him to have this program, and therefore he's having this program. I need not to be, and it's not this is only one program. I'm talking about our 9:30 forum which we're having. Because not only that, you know, is GEV programs and whatnot. He often says, sometimes I need breathing space. You know, and it's one devotee, you know, who's 24/7 engaged in learning. So I was just, of course, I don't want to speak much on this. This might be getting recording also. But just now I wanted to share my appreciation in this particular regard. Our only concern should be how to execute the order. If the very first example comes to my mind is his, that's what I was saying. Of course, there are so many. His Radheshyam Prabhu is there, no doubt about it. Many other wonderful Vaishnavas are there. But because he's working in a very close proximity, I've been working for over 25 years, it's not easy. Our nature is, after a while, we want freedom. We come with that idea, somehow we then adjust our mental block, and then, you know, after philosophical understanding, then we adjust, and then we follow for some time. And then after some time, we say, bahut ho gaya, now I want my freedom. I would do this, I would do that. And, you know, devotees begin to demand like that. But our only concern should be how to execute the order of the spiritual master. I often say this, I'll repeat it to all of you also. we should have at least one relationship. Yes, sir. No question asked. If you don't have any one relationship, now you cannot say, yes, Prabhuji, I have one relationship. Where? For, the temple president of Delhi, who are here online. And maybe once in a year I may meet him. And when I meet him, he will not even recognize me. Because relationship is one way only. And whatever I say, yes, sir. Now what would he say to you? So we have our own ways we cheat out. So our only concern should be how to execute the art of spiritual master. I can tell you, life becomes very simple and it can be just simply amazing. And you all, those of you know Prabhu, you can reflect upon it. You can see what a brilliant life he's again I'm speaking too much here, but just one point, a role model for sadhaka, if I want to say. A perfect role model for a sadhaka, for a brahmachari, of course brahmachari, and for any sadhaka. Perfect. You want to give a 10 out of 10? I would, in that case. Anyways, our only concern should be how to execute the art of spiritual. A spiritual master is expert in giving special instructions to each of his disciples, and the disciple execute the art of the spiritual master. Now, when you hear from such individuals, they may know Shastra, they may know shlokas or not, it becomes irrelevant. Why? Because their life is an example. The life itself is an example. Because their actions are teaching it. Like that. It becomes very, very wonderful. Let's move forward. Text number 72. Now the details of his austerities would be described. Triratrante kapitha badrashanaha. Kapitha badra means fruits. Ashna eat. Kapitha badara. Badara means fruits and berries. Ashna means eat. Triratrante kapitha badranshaha atmavritti anusarena masam ninne archayam harim. For the first 3 minutes, Dhruva Maharaj ate only fruits and berries on every third day, only to keep his body and soul together. In this way, he progressed in his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. हम यहीं पर दंडवत प्रणाम कर देते हैं, आगे मत जाओ, बहुत हो गया. 3 दिन में क्या खाया? For the first month, ate only fruits and berries on every third day. So it's a beautiful puppet. Where I was speaking recently? Having a discussion, I'm sorry, I'm not able to recall the forum where I was speaking recently about this austerities. How much austerities we have to... yajna. I was speaking about yajna in another program. So what is the meaning of yajna? Yajna means sacrifice in English. What is the definition of sacrifice? This definition of sacrifice comes in Ramayana. I'll just paraphrase. There's a beautiful shloka that comes and defines the definition of sacrifice. Sacrifice means giving one's comfort, conveniences. Sacrificing one's comfort, conveniences, and also opinion. To give up what you are attached to. That is called as sacrifice. And that is what becomes tapa. Now, who doesn't like to eat? Who doesn't like to sleep? And what Dhruva Maharaj is doing? He's giving up on his eating. He's giving up on his sleeping. He's performing severe austerity. And now Prabhupada in the purport talks about it. So I was making a point in that forum is Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says the human form of life is meant for yajna. That's the subject matter of 3rd chapter and then the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. How many of you agree or disagree? Let's take a vote. Let's see how much of you... because certain facts of life, we have to accept it. And if not, we can discuss about it. How many of you accept human form of life is meant for yajna? Raise your hand. Okay, so we'll begin with Tejas. Justify. How yajna?
We are not doing yajna, we are doing bhoga.
Yajna means वो वाला यज्ञ नहीं करा मैं.
Sacrifice.
हाँ, तपा. Yeah.
So, if you are not engaged in yajna, then you are doing bhoga.
But to get bhoga also you have to do yajna, na? Can you get bhoga without yajna? Annad bhutani, that particular show. How do you get your anna? Not anna means South Indian anna. I'm saying anna. Sorry, I sounded like South Indian Tamil anna. I'm saying anna. And the food, how do you get? What is that? Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanya. I missed that, but you got that word. Annad bhavanti bhutani. You know, how do you get that anna? Your bhoga. Bhoga also comes from yajna, sacrifice. So unless you perform sacrifice, you cannot even maintain your body. Now Prabhupada is making point, there are two kinds of sacrifice. One for bhoga, one for Krishna's pleasure. And we all have to make a choice which kind of yajna we want to perform. Bhoktaraham yajna tapasam. I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices, Krishna says. So this philosophical point, this truth has to seep into it. And that's what Prabhupada is saying. For all of you, those of you young fellows here, maybe let's say you're trying to work hard, earn money. Can you guarantee that whatever plans you have in future to use that money, you'll be able to use it? Is there anyone who can guarantee? You cannot. Even if you work hard, earn money, you might fall sick. You may have some lawsuit, what not. If it is not for you, you're not going to have that money anyways. So the point is, we have to do yajna even for bhoga. So do a prescribed yajna, which means what is needed. And that is the point Prabhupada makes in the purport here. Everyone is working hard like a donkey, but we should not. Flower, tika, monkey in the forest. That's the point. So again, please deeply reflect onto it. What are we doing with our life? And if there is no yajna, there's going to be no rain. And there's no rain, there's going to be no grain. The point is, if we do not perform austerities, in modern language, if you don't work hard, success cannot follow. Of course, work hard does not determine success. Work hard plus providence plus time determines success. But that will not function unless you work hard. It has to have action, prescribed action. Similarly, in bhakti life and devotional life, we got to give our time and attention. We cannot just live through with it. Therefore, in traditional times, in Vedic times, have you ever wondered why, how many of you have heard while growing up? My mother used to often tell me, Bharat Sone ki Chidiya hua karti thi. After reading Prabhupada books, I understood for the first time how Bharat Sone ki Chidiya thi and why Bharat today is not Sone ki Chidiya. Anyone can think about why Bharat was Sone ki Chidiya before? How many of you heard of this? And if not, इतना this much common sense ना, लुटेरे आए यहाँ पे तो लूटने क्यों आए? भिखारी को थोड़ा लूटने आएंगे? वो तो Britishers left us as beggars. We must be very filthy rich. So why we were how we were Sone ki Chidiya? Anyone? Any online audience want to say how we were Sone ki Chidiya? I'm not talking golden duck, huh? I'm talking Sone ki Chidiya. Yes.
More sacrifice was there.
So idea is, without dharma, artha is not possible. For those of you who have come for soul sanctuary, let me address to you. If you want to be materially successful, you cannot be materially successful unless you perform your dharma. There has to be devotional component. Without that, how much ever you continue to struggle, you will not function. You will remain materially frustrated. Even if you get a promotion, you will not be happy. We already discussed when you all met me. And those of you who are practicing devotees here, and those of you who are looking for a job and whatever situation you are in, if you're not going to do your dharma, whatever situation it is, we need to organize our schedule in such a way that we come for morning. If not, at least for arti. We can't have an excuse for long. If you do that, you will have the result with yourself. Nothing going to happen to you. You will continue to struggle the same way. All right. So that's the point here. Text number 73. Dharma will give us artha. So Bharat was Sone ki Chidiya because everyone followed dharma. And that's how we got artha. And in the modern times, now you may say, Prabhuji, after 47 we got independence. Then why didn't we become Sone ki Chidiya? Because we had, again, a government in power who was only a practitioner of adharma. The cow slaughter was one of the demands during the independence. If in case you know of the history, one of the demands during the independence was cow slaughter has to be banned. Mahatma Gandhi had certified. He himself wanted it. But when that हमारे चाचा जी आए, he didn't allow that to happen. Why the Muslims would not allow that to happen? And it went on for almost 15, 16 years like that. And eventually, so what happened in around 64, 65? All the sadhus and sages had taken out a big rally in Delhi. And our Chacha ji as far as my history knowledge goes back, he indicated for lathi charge and shooting. So that particular day became a very infamous day. And if you go back into the history, it turns out to be the same day when Chachaji went, when Indra went, and Rahul ke Pitaji went. Like that is a connection in that, right? It is either according to Tithi or something like that is a connection in that. So that's a point here about it. Dharma. And if you look at situation in the last decade or so, things have drastically improved. Koi kare na kare, but one man on the top is following dharma. One man on the top is following dharma. Mujhe nahi pata tha. Yesterday Graf was telling me that he has a spiritual practice of 1.5 hours to 2 hours every day. Modi. तुम लोगों को शर्म करनी चाहिए. अगर तुम you guys think you are very busy, you're thinking 16 hour chanting नहीं हो रही, and some of you are not able to come for the morning, you should be really embarrassed and shameful of you. This fellow has 1.5 hours to 2 hours of sadhana every day. And we were having a discussion on leadership. He was making some very profound points. He said he does that. I was amazed. And you can see that. Because the way he's able to inspire people and the way he's able to move forward in his life. He had a system set up for 70 years and it was a completely rusted systems. People don't want to change. He brought about the change in those systems which is almost impossible. You understand government jobs? Government job means खा के बैठ के खाना है जीवन भर. He has made those people run for their money now. मतलब जो हमारा गवर्नमेंट में जो अधर्मा था ना, इसने उस अधर्मा का नाश करा है. So you can imagine how much empowered this man should be. And where does that empowerment comes from? His own spiritual practice. Whatever sadhana, I didn't ask the details of it. तो ये मत पूछना जी कौन सा मंत्र जप करता है वो. I mean, I didn't ask any such questions. I was told, I patiently heard. I didn't question it, but this is the point. So तुम लोग का ये understanding है ना, मैं बस बैठ के मेहनत करूँगा success मिलेगी, is totally useless. You are not materially successful. Forget successful. You are not even materially established anywhere. Forget about spiritual life then. Text number 73. द्वितीयं च तथामासां षष्ठे दिने तृणाप्रणादिभिः शीर्णहि कृतन्नो अभ्यर्चयन् विभुं. The second month of March ate only every 6 days, and for his eatables he took dry grass and leaves. Thus he continued his worship. Now how was he able to control his senses to such a degree? First month he ate in 3 days, next month he ate in 6 days. Any thoughts about it? How was he able to restrain his senses? How many of us here had an experience? Please raise your hand when I say this. When you do Nijal Ekadashi, after Nijal Ekadashi, you, with the compound interest, you cope up with what you didn't do the previous day. You understood my point? You understood my hint? Next morning, with the compound interest, you compensate for what you didn't do the previous day. How many of you agree? Raise your hand. Which means for Dhruv Maharaj, in the second month, he should have eaten 3 times in a day. If previous month he ate once in 3 days, then he should have compensated in the second month by eating 3 times in a day. Rather, he increased. How? This is how determination grows. When we say no to sense gratification repeatedly, our confidence increases and our determination builds up. There is no other way to build determination. When you have to get up in the morning and your mind is taking you for a ride, oh, tu bahut bimar hai, oh, tu bahut thaka hua hai, oh, whatever excuses the mind has to give. If you do not say no to it, you can never change. The change has to begin from within. कितना भी सुनोगे सब यहाँ से सुन के वहाँ निकल जाएगा. हम भविष्य का सोचते रहेंगे, भविष्य में मैं करूँगा, भविष्य में ऐसा करूँगा. भविष्य में होगा कब? जब आपने आज करना नहीं सीखा. How can you do that in the future? It never starts. It has to start from today and from now. That's the point here. Where is Bhushan?
He will come in the morning.
Morning?
After breakfast.
Okay. So where were we? Once we say no, then our strength increases to say no. That is, therefore we say, okay, you're not able to get up at 4 o'clock. Let's begin with 6 o'clock. Make an improvement. When you practice for a while, then you will get the confidence, I will become a 6. Then let's say 5:30. Then go to 5. But karna hi nahi hai. Such people are totally, utterly useless. I can tell you, write it on a legal paper, give you, they will have no success anywhere. No success. If anything they get, it is just pure fluke. Because they have just not learned the basic thing to say no to their mind. You start somewhere, na? Let me make this point. When I used to be hiring for my team, used to hire for my team, what is the one thing that you look in a candidate? Let's say you're hiring for a research department. Now in a research department, you're not going to sit on the head of that fellow. Do this, do that. Testing में ठीक है, तुम्हारे सिर पर बैठ कर तुम्हें काम देते रहेंगे because that's a totally shudra job. Testing में तुम्हें बोला जाएगा करो. Research job is not. Research is Brahmanical job. Now how do you do it? Now the quality that you look for the candidate in that is, can he lead himself? Can he lead himself? Which means even if he doesn't have the knowledge, can he learn himself? Because research में क्या लगेगा? Research means initiative, ना? Can he take that initiative? Which means can he lead himself? Or will he sit and enjoy the office hours saying that, हाँ जी मैं कर रहा हूँ, 2 घंटे का काम को 2 दिन लगेंगे? This is where it makes a difference. Now let me ask this question to you. What parameter would you look into that person which can help you understand that he can really lead himself? Because I feel this is very important, because I see many of you messing up with your life. So I'm making this point to all of you. What is that one point here which can very clearly categorize that this fellow can lead himself? And when you can lead yourself, then only you can lead others. What is that one point? What you can think of that? One point you can think of. Your knowledge has no value here. Because if you're inherently lazy, tamoguni, you will just sit and relax. You will not do any of it. What is that one quality? Mother Preeti Radha says self-control. Self-control. Okay. What is that one quality? Huh? Determination. What is that one quality which proves that he can lead by himself?
Desire to learn.
Desire to learn. What is that one quality? Enthusiasm. What is that one quality? Self-discipline. It's very simple. And so simple you'll miss it out. And many of you will not even have thought of it because inherent laziness. And what is that one quality? That person would have the nature. After spending a whole day, let's say a office report, after spending a whole day working on an office report, before he click on a send button, he will again go back and review it to further polish it. Because why? He has an inherent nature to give the best. He will just not type something and click send, let manager को समझने तो क्या समझना है? मैं तो बोल दूंगा मैंने भेज दिया. Are you getting the point? He is the one, even if the day has concluded, but immediately or suddenly some request comes, he's not going to say, मेरा तो हो गया मैं जा रहा हूँ. He is willing to spend extra time, which means lead oneself means he is willing to sacrifice greater or make a greater sacrifice. That is what. These individuals are highly detail-oriented. So this is what one thing you need to look in somebody in the research field. Only then. Are they willing to go an extra mile? I use the word extra mile here often. Are they willing to go for extra mile? Or they are just content, जो हो जाएगा, जैसा हो जाएगा, ऐसे लोग जमते नहीं हैं. ये लोग क्या है? Go back to Shudra job. Go and do that. जो बॉस बोलेगा करो, बॉस नहीं बोलेगा, शांति से बैठो. क्योंकि हम कुछ कर नहीं सकते अपने आप. So this is the differentiating factor, and we as a devotee, ideally we should cultivate this attitude. All of us can do that. Only thing we need to know, remind ourselves, give up our laziness. Now look at Dhruva's life. He is leading himself or no? Where is spiritual master around him? To whom is he sending sadhana report? Is Narad Muni coming and falling off with him? Gone through the assistant. एक कॉल ले लो. मैंने क्लास का मैसेज ले लो उसको बोल के. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, think about Dhruva Maharaj. To whom is he giving, what I was saying? To whom is he submitting sadhana report? Who is he following up? Why Narad Muni is glorifying Dhruva Maharaj? Because Dhruva Maharaj knew Oh, sorry, Nath, I'm sorry, you got distracted with that call. Close the door. I'm a little sensitive to sound. What was I saying? Nath Muni knew. See, if you see Nath Muni, Dhruva's interaction is so short. He could immediately gauge and understand that this boy is going to be successful. Why? Because he was not afraid of sacrifice. He knew what he wanted and he was willing to go for an extra mile. And what are the evidences of it? Dhruva was already in the forest. Nath Muni said, no, not here, go to Madhuban. Immediately Dhruva could have said, sir, ye bhi to forest hai. I told you 800 kilometers minimum. It should be more than that. Now he walked that much distance. He could have said, sir, ye bhi to forest hai. तपस्या करनी है क्या कानपुर के पास गंगा नहीं है कानपुर पे गंगा है गंगा flows through कानपुर भाई गंगा यमुना में अंतर क्या है he could have said so that's the point. What type of program?
He said immediately call you after the class. I said he will call you around 9.
I have to call.
Yeah.
What's an update of the program? He didn't say.
And he said he asked immediately call after the class.
ठीक है, you told him 9 o'clock? ठीक है, fine. I'll call him. What was I saying? Are you getting this point? I'm sorry, I got lost in my thoughts. Is that making sense? It's a great story to learn here. I've made 2-3 points here. I'll just quickly reflect on it before I totally lose my thought process here. So Dhruva did his fasting austerity for 1 month. We do Nijal Ekadashi, and next day with a compound interest, we catch up with what we missed the previous day. Rather, he increases tapasya. How do he increases tapasya? When we begin to say no. And as a sadhaka, we need to begin to say no at a baby step. Then only we can say no. Then only we can move forward. To say that abhi nahi, abhi main karunga, bhavishya mein no kahunga. Aisa nahi hota. It never works. The more you're getting conditioned today, the more difficult it will be for you to say no tomorrow. You're cheating yourself and you think others are fool who doesn't understand how you're flopping your life, how you're wasting your life. That's the first thing. Second thing, we're making a point, leadership. How Dhruva here sets a brilliant example, example of a self-leadership. And therefore, Dhruva goes on to become a pure devotee, goes on to become the next king. The one who can lead himself only can lead others. Yes, self-discipline, self-control, determination, enthusiasm, patience, all that is good. But one prominent quality in this individual is, and then I was giving you my example, when we had people for research team, I didn't bother about how much they know or not. And probably I could think, I'm just thinking right now out loud, maybe that probably the reason why I was hired also. I was hired at the time when there were no job openings in America. First thing is 2008 economic crisis, Morgan Stanley, I believe. Some bank had crashed, something, and complete bankruptcy there. No jobs, Americans lost job. And I got a job from a company which has not had a history of hiring even a single international student. I was the first student for whom they filed H1B. In their job profile, they had clearly said only domestic with a security clearance. Somehow they called me for an interview. I went for an interview. Now, if I think about it, probably that could be the reason. Now, I'll tell you. I went for an interview. That job profile needed minimum 5 years of work experience in the domain of mobile security. My work experience was on the domain of mobile ad hoc network. The only similarity was in the job profile, and my experience was the word mobile. I was working on driverless cars networking, securing that network, mobile ad hoc network. That is what this research work of mine had no connection with the job profile. I met with Dan Hoffman, who was a CTO at that point of time. It was a good thing because he just pinged me yesterday about something. That's the reason I'm reminded of this. And he still keeps in touch with me. So that guy, he had an interview, did not ask any technical question. We had some casual, HR interaction, interpersonal thing. He had that interaction a little bit. And then he took me on a tour. मैं सोचा था यार मैं उसका कोई क्लाइंट हूँ जो मुझे घुमाने ले जा रहा है देखो हम यहाँ पे ये करते हैं वहाँ पे ये करते हैं इंटरव्यू जैसा लगा ही नहीं आई रिमेंबर व्हेन आई वाज कमिंग बैक ना मैं कहा यार मेरा फालतू में टाइम बर्बाद हो गया दिस इज व्हाट माय एक्सपीरियंस बिकॉज देयर वाज नॉट इवन अ सिंगल टेक्निकल क्वेश्चन यू वेंट फॉर अ रोल सिक्योरिटी वो पूछेगा ना तुमने सिक्योरिटी में क्या करा क्या कुछ नहीं नथिंग एंड आफ्टर 15 minutes आई वाज स्टिल इन अ बस आई वाज सो ब्रोक आई डिडंट इवन हैव द मनी टू गेट अ कैब I got a call that you're hired. For what? For heading the research department of that particular company. Now, if I'm connected to this, I'm sorry, I'm speaking about myself, but I'm just making the point. And this is what I would look into it. And because why I would look into it? Because he trained me in that. Now I'm connecting the dots. Because he made me to hire, and when the first hiring happened, I sat with him and he said, you learn with me. So where did I learn this? I learned from him. What you need to look into the candidate, not what he knows. Is he have that ability to learn and lead by himself? Or does he need somebody to tell him कि क्या करना है? So yeah, that's the thing we see in the reverse case here. So please go back and reflect on your life and you'll understand which guna you are functioning. Do you always need people telling you, repeatedly telling you to correct yourself? Or you hear once and now you understand I need to correct myself. Then you're in the right direction. Before you do anything and before you submit anything to your manager, to your authorities, have you double checked, triple checked? Have you ensured it is properly done? या बस मैंने कर दिया, आप देखते रहो जो करना है. Are you increasing more headache and more work for them? So then you will understand you have that ability to lead or not. Lead means Brahmana, or Kshatriya administratively. Anything else is Vaishya and Shudra for that. Vaishya means he is inspired to lead just for money. And Shudra means, okay, so this is one way of look at it. And here Dhruva Maharaj Kshatriya, he has got that fantastic ability. Text number 74. Tritiyam chanyam masam navame hani ab bhaksha uttama shlokam upadhavat samadhina. In the third month he drank water only every 9 days. Thus he remained completely in trance and worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is adored by selected verses. His austerities are only increasing. Something we need to ask ourselves as we are progressing ahead. हम कहाँ अटके हुए हैं? Are we kind of stuck? Are we moving forward? Or are we going backward? So if we are on the right track, our taste for sacrifice, let me speak for devotees. If you are rightly situated as a devotee, our taste for sacrifice, which means service inclination, would increase. If you're properly situated. If you're not properly situated, the more you grow, the more excuses you learn to give. And for example, just now Gaurang Prabhu's assistant called. With Gaurang Prabhu, I made a mistake once and I learned my lesson. So I'm telling you, for him, no doesn't exist in dictionary. You cannot tell him no. Jo bola, so karo. I told him once no. He didn't speak to me or send me any message for almost 6 to 9 months. और जब इतना बड़ा hiatus हुआ ना तो मुझे समझा कुछ तो गड़बड़ हुई है. तो मैंने कुछ महीने बाद मैसेज लिखा. And then I got to know later on. So, and as I said, his life is a personal example of it, how he render service like that. Anyways, text number 75. Chaturtham api vaimasam dvadashe ahani vayubhaksho jataswasho dhyayan devam adharayat. In the fourth month, Dhruva Maharaj became a complete master of breathing exercise and thus he inhaled air only every 12th day. In this way, he became completely fixed in his position, worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 76. अभी हमारा सिर ना शर्म से झुकने वाला है. इनकी तपस्या बढ़ती जा रही है. अभी खाना पीना बंद करा है. अभी खड़ा होना भी बंद कर देंगे. Now he'll stand on one leg. पंचमे मास्य अनुप्राप्ते जीत श्वासोर प्राप्त जहाँ ध्यायन ब्रह्म पदैकेन तस्थौ स्थानो इवाचलः. So fourth month में he mastered the breathing exercise. Thus he inhaled air only every 12th day. I don't know how many of you paid attention. मैं जल्दी नहीं बोल के चला गया. सांस ही वो 12 दिन में एक बार लेते थे. 12 दिन तक क्या करना है भाई? In this way, he became completely fixed in his position. Now, what he did in 76, fifth month, by the 5th month, Maharaj Dhruva, the son of the king, had controlled his breathing so perfectly that he was able to stand only on one leg, just as a column stands, without motion, can concentrate his mind fully on the Parabrahma. So, this is Ashtanga Yoga, where breathing exercise plays a very vital role. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam. So breathing exercise is very important for bringing about the equilibrium of the mind. So therefore these practitioners, they do long breathing exercise. So what Dhruva you're seeing, if you see that, whatever he's doing is accompanied with a breathing exercise. And what is the 76th verse says? In the 5th month, he perfectly controlled his breathing. So much so, now he can be totally motionless like that. Which means, so one of the things about pranayama is, when you do pranayama, it helps declutter your mind. So it's a great science. Our soul is surrounded by this 5 years, I believe, 5 or 6 years. So our whole functioning in the body happens because of vata. And if you can harmonize vata, then you can harmonize your thoughts. If somebody, while japa, I have made this point during our japa talks in the past, if during chanting, if you're really disturbed, your mind is caught up with a lot of thoughts, keep the beadback aside, there's no point. You cannot chant. Don't do that. Keep it aside. Now do some breathing exercise. And focus on breathing exercise. You might have to do it for a few minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. 2 things will happen to you. First, you will get very exhausted because it's exhausting in the beginning. And second thing, your mind will disconnect from those thoughts. And then you come back to chanting like that. So it has its own great advantage. Text number 77. He completely controlled his senses and their objects, and in this way fixed his mind without diversion to anything else upon the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text number 7. When Dhruva Maharaj thus captures the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the refuge of the total material creation, and who is the master of all humanity, the 3 worlds began to tremble. Not only controlled his breath, he controlled the air circulation of the whole universe. Literally, he became one with the universe. That's the point here. Text number 79. As Dhruva Maharaj, the king's son, kept himself steadily standing on one leg. So he has been, from the 5th month, has been standing on one leg, right? Which continued to the 6th month also. The pressure of his big toe pushed down half the earth. Just as an elephant being carried on a boat rocks the boat left and on a boat rocks the boat left and right with his every step. Papa, that is a beautiful point. The most significant expression in this word is Parthivar Bhakaha, son of the king. When Dhruva Maharaj was at home, although he was a king's son, he was prevented from getting on the lap of his father. When Dhruva Maharaj was at home, although he was a king's son, he was prevented from getting here. But when he became advanced in self-realization or devotional service, by the pressure of his toe, he could push down the whole earth. This is the difference between ordinary consciousness and Krishna consciousness. In other words, right now we come from an ordinary conscious background, bhogi. But when we become Krishna conscious, by Dhruva's pushing the earth down means for us, there is nothing which is not possible for a devotee. You can accomplish anything and everything. Material success to spiritual success. Everything is possible. One cannot argue how is it that Dhruva Maharaj, who was prevented from getting up on the lap of his father, could press down the whole earth. Second paragraph. This argument is not very much appreciated. For example, Nagna Matraka logic. By this logic, one would think that because his mother and her child was naked, Nagna Matraka, she should remain naked even when she is grown up. The stepmother Dhruva Maharaj might have been thinking in a similar way that Dhruva is a boy, will remain a boy, since she refused. But Dhruva could perform such wonderful activities since he became the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what purpose, right? By concentrating constantly on the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, could press down the entire earth like an elephant who presses down the boat on which it is loaded. So it was not the weight of Dhruva, it was the weight of Paramatma that pushed the earth. What happened, text number 80? When Dhruva Maharaj became practically one in heaviness with the Lord Vishnu, so it became merged in that way. The total consciousness, due to his fully concentrating and closing all the holes of his body, the total universal breathing became choked up. And all the devatas and all the planetary systems felt suffocated and thus took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Second paragraph. The example of Dhruva Maharaj closing the holes of his personal body and thereby closing the breathing holes of the total universe clearly indicates that a devotee by his personal devotional service can influence all the people of the whole world to become devotees of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada writing about Srila Prabhupada. If there is only one pure devotee and pure Krishna consciousness, he can change the total consciousness of the world into. Can you imagine to change the consciousness of somebody? You may not have an experience of this, but you get an experience once you get married. To change others' behavior is so difficult, almost impossible. Now in marriage ashram, you still have some obligation. भाई साथ में रहना है, जीना यहाँ, मरना यहाँ, ये था ना कुछ गाना, इसके बिना जाना कहाँ, something like that. Joker movie शायद, Raj Kapoor, I guess, like that. So because there is an obligation, then you compromise. But in this kind of a relation, where is an obligation? And without demanding, you are able to transform the consciousness. Is only possible through Krishna consciousness. These all things should give us faith, knowing how what Prabhupada did. Is all possible. This is not very difficult to understand if we study the behavior of the Dhruva Maharaj. Text number 81. Deva uchuhu. So now Devatas begin to speak. Please save us. Devata says, Dear Lord, you are the refuge of all moving, non-moving entities. We feel all living entities will be suffocating, their breathing process choked up. Can you imagine if you cannot breathe up? Imagine there is no breathing happening. You cannot even evacuate. For you to evacuate the waste from your body, it only happens because of the pressure of air. Vata, there are different types of air performing different functions. So imagine, Devatas are not able to eat, not able to digest, not able to evacuate. किसकी वजह से? 5 साल के बालक की वजह से. So उनको तो नानी याद आ गई. We feel all living entities to be suffocating, their breathing process choked up. We have never experienced such a thing. Since you are the ultimate shelter of the surrendered souls, we have therefore approached you kindly. Save us from this danger. Text number 82. So they have approached the Lord Vishnu. Text 82 is the last verse. And let's see what Vishnu says, and we'll pause after that. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bhaveshta Balam Tapaso Drutyayam Nivartayishe Pratiyata Swadhama Yato hiva prana nirodha asit autana pade mai sangatatma. The Supreme Personality Godhead replied, My dear Devatas, do not be perturbed by this. It is due to the severe austerity and full determination of the son of King Uttanapad, who is now fully absorbed in thought of me. He has obstructed the universal breathing process. You can safely return to your respective homes. I shall stop this boy in his service, severe acts of austerities, and you will be saved from this situation. Second paragraph of the puppet. By pleasing the Lord, one pleases everyone, just as by watering the root of a tree. Mudvamulam adhashakam. No, not that's the word. What is that? Sheet. Nagmuni says that. By watering the root of a tree, one satisfies every branch, twig, and leaf of the tree. If one can attract the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one actually attracts the whole universe, because Krishna is the supreme cause of the universe. All the Devatas were afraid of being totally vanquished by suffocation. But the Lord assured them that Dhruva was a great devotee and was not about to annihilate. That was not his objective. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So thank you all for joining in. We conclude our today's discussion and chapter 9, yeah. So we'll read chapter 9 from next week. So next week we are not here on Monday, and I'm out on Tuesday. So we'll have class Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. Monday, Tuesday we'll have Prabhupada lectures or the guest lectures. Anyone has any quick questions or comments? नौजवानों, कुछ चिंतन आप लोगों का? Yes, Ritesh Prabhu?
Like Dhruva Maharaj was frustrating so much. So how we can consider, understand this in today's world? Like his austerities were on other side.
आपका क्वेश्चन क्या है?
मुझे ये जानना है कि प्रभु जी डिवोशनल लाइफ में इतना ऑस्टेरिटी हमें करना चाहिए या
आप अपना ऑस्टेरिटी करो ना पहले. जितना ऑस्टेरिटी आपको बोला गया है उतना करो. नारदमुनि टोल्ड ध्रुवा टू डू समथिंग, ही डिड. नारदमुनि आपको थोड़ा ना कहे 3 दिन में एक बार खाओ. आपको खाए, एक दिन में 3 बार खाओ, खुशी खुशी खाओ, मॉर्निंग प्रोग्राम आते रहो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. Anything else? Okay, so we pause here. Jagadu Srila Prabhupada ki. You have your meeting now? You have a meeting? No, call them to have a meeting with Blue Ridge Boys and I'll go for my program.